One Democrat who's been on defense over Jeffrey Epstein is Stacey Plaskett. She represents the Virgin Islands. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies.
What was supposed to be a routine interview turned into one of the most humiliating moments a Democrat has faced on live television this year. Rep. Jasmine Crockett stepped into Kaitlan Collins' studio expecting a friendly cleanup operation, but walked straight into a reality check she was absolutely unprepared for. Kaitlan Collins, calm, sharp, laser-focused, peeled back Crockett's talking points one by one and forced her to confront the very hypocrisy Democrats have spent weeks dodging. The Epstein communication scandal they now desperately want to bury. By the end of this breakdown, you'll see exactly how Collins dismantled Crockett's excuses, exposed the contradictions, and showed viewers the uncomfortable truth Democrats hoped you'd ignore. Collins began by challenging Crockett's accusation that Republicans took donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, a serious claim if it were true. But the moment Collins pointed out that one of the Republicans Crockett named was actually donated to by an entirely different Jeffrey Epstein, a doctor, Crockett's response was unbelievable. She blamed Google. Yes, Google. Crockett admitted her team had roughly 20 minutes to search names before she went on TV and built her accusation around that. Kaitlan Collins didn't raise her voice. She simply delivered the adult-in-the-room reality. Basic fact-checking must come before you smear someone on national television, not after. And right there, Crockett started unraveling. Collins pushed again. Was Crockett implying these Republicans took money from the Epstein? Crockett insisted she wasn't. But Collins exposed the obvious. If Crockett wasn't trying to imply that, then why bring it up at all without verifying anything?
One Democrat who's been on defense over Jeffrey Epstein is Stacey Plaskett. She represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text messages between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor, doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people?
I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not. So I will trust and take what he says is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
A registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know. When you search FEC files, and that's what I had my team to do, I texted them and I said, listen, we're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the convicted sex trafficker.
Within 20 minutes, you could not find that out, not from just doing a quick search on FEC. So number one, I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it was specifically that Jeffrey Epstein, because I knew that we would need more time to really dig in.
Well, Stacey Plaskett was texting the Jeffrey Epstein that we're all talking about. You voted against the censure for her to remove her from her committees. You know, we pressed the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, on this last night. Maybe you don't think she should be removed from her committees.
Correct.
But why do so many Democrats seem unwilling to say it's inappropriate to be texting with a registered sex offender about what you're going to ask a witness at a congressional hearing?
So I'm not going to necessarily say that that's the case. Now, this is somebody that was a former prosecutor. Now, I haven't sat down and talked about all the specifics of why Stacey was doing what she was doing. I know that when she got up and she spoke, she talked about the fact that this is one of her constituents. At the end of the day, what I know of prosecutors is that they are typically talking to co-defendants. They are typically talking to the people that have the best information. And what you had was you had the former attorney for the president that was sitting there. And honestly, we knew, or she knew, or at least Jeffrey Epstein presented that he was very cozy with the president. He had more information, registered sex offender or not. The bigger question is, why is it that the president was so cozy with a registered sex offender even after he ultimately ended up with some of his convictions? And seemingly, he had absolutely been on the plane with him. We know about the birthday card. The bigger question is, why is the president of the United States not the one that is in the hot seat for his relationship, instead of us saying, oh, you know what, we're going to take her off of her committee because he decided to text her. Stacey didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated that chain, and she took the information. Just like if somebody texts me.
Yeah, but she was responding and saying, you know, what are you talking about? Quick, I'm up next. And then her questions were about Rona. But do you think that was inappropriate? I mean, would you text with someone who is a registered sex offender about what you should ask?
I honestly know that he had never been convicted of any federal crimes at that time.
But he had been in jail already.
He had been
got
in
a
jail.
plea deal.
And my deal is this. The Republicans are constantly texting with a 34-count convicted felon. So if it's okay for them to text him at any point in time, then I'm not going to say that that's right or wrong, especially to the extent that you're talking about kicking someone off their committee. Were they sexting? Was it a matter of her being involved in the pedophilia? No, it was nothing like that. She was trying to understand. Let's say Jeffrey Epstein said, you know what, I have these pictures, these salacious pictures, because I know that the president got down and did these things. Do you think that it would be inappropriate for her to ask about those things if he said he had personal knowledge?
I think the context matters, but obviously it seemed like he was helping her.
Suddenly, Crockett's story shifted into excuses, hypotheticals, what Republicans might think, vague justifications, everything except taking responsibility. Collins stayed steady. No shouting, no theatrics, just firm, precise questioning, while Crockett kept tangling herself into knots. Then, Collins hit the issue Democrats cannot defend. Why was Rep. Stacey Plaskett texting the Epstein everyone knows during a congressional hearing? Collins asked the obvious question Democrats refuse to answer. If this behavior isn't inappropriate, what is? And that's where Crockett's response completely collapsed. She claimed Epstein was a constituent. She claimed he had useful information. She parroted Plaskett's excuse, even though Collins already highlighted how disturbing that explanation is. Then Crockett did what Democrats do every time they're cornered. She deflected to the former president, anything to address the conduct itself. Collins stayed locked in. Was it appropriate? Yes or no? Crockett refused to answer. What Crockett said next was the moment the internet replayed over and over. She argued that Epstein was the kind of person prosecutors typically talk to, triggering disbelief across the audience. At that point, Kaitlan Collins didn't just win. She simply let Crockett defeat her own argument in real time. Before we wrap up, hit that subscribe button. Here on The Left Wing Critic, we break down the political moments the mainstream media glosses over, and we do it without filters, spin, or excuses. Your support pushes this content to more people who still believe in truth, logic, and accountability. By the end of the interview, Kaitlan Collins didn't need to humiliate anyone. She didn't cut Crockett off. She didn't steamroll her. She simply held her accountable to her own statements, and Crockett had no solid footing to stand on. This wasn't a partisan moment. It was a competence moment. When a politician blames Google, blames timing, blames hypotheticals, blames the former president, and still can't answer a single direct question, the journalist doesn't need to embarrass them. They embarrass themselves. Kaitlan Collins exposed the weakness of the talking points, the contradictions, and the hypocrisy, all with surgical calm and professional clarity. Thanks for watching The Left-Wing Critic. Stay informed, stay sharp, and stay tuned, because the political unraveling we just witnessed, it's only getting started.
Thanks for watching The Left-Wing Critic, where politics meets passion and we hold power to account. If you're tired of corporate spin and left-wing noise, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and join the movement. The left doesn't stay silent, and neither do we.